here's Sarah now. Hi, Sarah.
Hi there.
Hey, Sarah.
Hello.
Oh, here's Julia. Hey, Julia.
Hey, Julia, look what Jordan's wearing.
Oops.
Hi there.
Hi, guys. Oh, Jordan, I liked your Shrek ears.
Thank you. All right, let's get this thing started. Julia, Sarah, meet Cody Cameron. He's a story artist who worked on the first 3 Shrek movies, freelance on the 4th, but that's not all he does on Shrek. He voices Pinocchio and the 3 little pigs. I'm not a puppet, I'm a real boy.
So I hear you all have a film club?
Yeah, but I sort of started it myself. I mean, it's the closest I can get with that graphic arts community in these times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of started because Sarah and I used to go to the movies together. We used to go in person. And then when COVID hit, we could no longer go in person. Okay. And so then we started just picking a movie every week, didn't we, Sarah? And then we would just talk about it. And then we switched over to Zoom, and then we added Jordan.
That's awesome.
Now we talk more about, and I've been learning lots from them about animation. They're both very talented animation artists, and
that's great.
I've learned lots about it. Yeah.
I mean, I write and stuff. Sarah's more artistic. I happen to think logically and stuff. For me, things are sort of inching ourselves back to normal because, I think Paramount wants to release their Top Gun sequel in theaters. Sony wants to release Ghostbusters 3 Afterlife in theaters this November. And I think Marvel Studios is committing to theatrical release windows.
Well, I've heard that, yes.
And
yeah,
there's
for
also
Black Widow.
Yes, Black Widow, Shanghai, Legend of the Ten Rings, and Eternals, and Spider-Man: No Way Home. Though I might get a little excited for Spider-Man: No Way Home. Rumor has it there's not gonna be 1 Spider-Man, but 3.
Yes, I've heard that rumor as well.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I did this. I managed to do my annual Mother's Day planting. I planted a tree. Of course, this tree happens to be in memory of a way to honor my mother's mother, my grandma, Manna.
Nice.
And it was at Manna's house at 20 years ago this month that while I was watching some cable TV like Nickelodeon or Disney, Toon Disney or Cartoon Network or whatever the heck it was called back then. Mom suddenly comes in and she was like, "You want to go see Shrek?" This suddenly came out of the blue, like this was left field. I was like, "What's Shrek?" And she shows me like a newspaper ad from the Anderson Star about this Shrek thing. It shows Shrek, Donkey, Fiona, and Lord Farquad on the area. Well, the ad. So we go to the Amstar theater in the mall, and I sit in the theater and watch the movie unfold. It's fine. When Shrek comes out of the bathroom to Smash Mouth's All-Star, I knew this was gonna be like a good time at the theater because and it was so radically different from any other anime features I must have seen before that or since. So
Sarah, do you remember when you first saw Shrek?
It was probably after the theater debut. I'm not quite much of a fanatic of Shrek as Jordan is.
Maybe it's because of the memes and stuff, like Shrek 2001. Shrek 1 and Shrek 2, I seem to like. Shrek the 3rd, I don't really care too much about. I didn't bother with Shrek Forever After.
I love Shrek, too. That was one of our family favorites, and my favorite memory of it is my family and I, when my brother and I were little, we were like 4 and 6. We did a road trip down through California, and my parents rented. They didn't really know what they were doing, but they rented a sports car, like a convertible sports car, and we had the Shrek soundtrack CD. And that's all we listened to for a straight week up and down California. So I know that soundtrack forwards and backwards.
That's great.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Good stuff.
Well, it turns out that we all have seen the movie. I'm pretty sure you must have seen the Hulu copy. Sarah must have gotten that saw it on Freeform. So we're all good. So given that, not too many people here would know the origins of Shrek. So let's.
Jordan, I do seem to recall about it.
Well, I mean, I really want to know the origins of Shrek.
Remember, yeah. I do seem to recall a silly kids book story back in elementary about how, it's just gradual reversals of the story. And plot made it so humorous.
I don't remember that storybook from school. What was it, sir?
It was called Shrek by one William Steig, and Jeffrey Katzenberg, who was running Disney at the time in 1990 or 1991, was interested in making this into an animated feature at Disney. Of course, he had some sort of feud with who was then the head of Disney, Michael Eisner, at that point. So, and a bunch of other abstract emotional stuff I probably wouldn't get as a person on the autism spectrum. So, after The Lion King opened to huge record numbers in 1994, summer of 1994, Jeffrey Katzenberg resigns from his post as head of feature film at Disney, wins some $100 million lawsuit, and collaborates with Steven Spielberg to fund this new studio called DreamWorks, with one of the intentions to create animated features.
Was Shrek DreamWorks' first thing?
It was, when I started in 96, it was the third film. There was Prince of Egypt and Road to El Dorado, which were both hand-drawn animated features being developed. And Shrek was third in line, but there were 2 co-productions happening in those early days. One with PDI, which was Ants, the CG animated film. And then also they were doing a co-production with with Aardman, which was Chicken Run.
Fun!
Yeah. So when I started, those were kind of the things that were happening over there. Yeah, September of 96. So.
Oh, those are all fun things.
Yeah.
Well, it was quite a different company back then, because, they were trying to do different things than what would normally be done in the Disney animation. They were trying to make things different from what Disney was producing at that time. And Shrek just happened to be one of those projects that was having a hard time getting off the ground.
So, Sarah?
Getting green-lighted? Is that what he's trying to say?
Well, they were trying to... At first, they were going to have Chris Farley in the role of Shrek. But complications arose when Chris Farley died. He was like this fat comedian. And that kind of broke some morale.
Continuing.
But then Mike Myers ends up coming in to replace Chris Farley, and he records his lines.
Halloween.
Sarah, you're mentioning Michael Myers from the movie Halloween?
Oh, yeah. Why does the actor have the same guy as that guy?
I don't know.
That's a good question.
I was watching this with my boyfriend this week, and my boyfriend is a huge fan of Austin Powers and knows Austin Powers forwards and backwards. And we've never noticed before that Shrek says you're going on the right path to a smacked bottom, which is a direct quote from Austin Powers. I've never noticed it before. And this week we watched it, we laughed so hard.
Yeah, you hear that, Jordan? We're learning something new every day.
Exactly. So, Cody.
Yes.
How did you first get involved in Shrek?
Well, I was a student at CalArts, and my teacher, Brenda Chapman, was able to get me involved with internship at DreamWorks when it was as small as like 40 employees, and they were all developing. Prince of Egypt was the only thing at the time. And this was in between my second and third year of school. I got to go to this internship, and then I got hired from that internship, but I still went back for my last year of school. But I was lucky enough to know that I had a job waiting for me the following year.
Relief.
Yeah, so I started working September of '96 as a storyboard artist, and that in animation we learn all the different areas, the different parts of animation that you can do, whether you want to be an animator, a storyboard artist, visual development artist, painters. I found that while at school I really liked storyboarding, and I liked even listening to my friends pitch me their storyboards, and I could throw out ideas, and it was a very collaborative way to make art. So, and it's very much a team effort, and it's fun because I always liked, as a kid, showing my drawings to my parents and making voices while I showed the drawings. So, it was almost like I was, growing up to be a storyboard artist. So.
For sure, you grew into your destiny, for sure.
Yeah. And that's also how I ended up getting to do the voices is because we would pitch our storyboards to the executives and to, all the rest of the story crew. They liked our voices and brought us in to do scratch dialogue, which means that when they put our storyboards together in an animatic, they need something to cut together before they hire the real actors. And so they'll do scratch dialogue with people that are working on the film. And I just happened to be one of, I think there was 4 of us on the film that actually got in being storyboard artists, and there was one editorial assistant that also did the voices. So, yeah, it's a pretty amazing, a pretty lucky thing, but... Yeah, from what I had heard, and I don't know if this is true, is that they actually brought people, they auditioned people to recast, like in other words, to bring in actors to play the roles that we had done, and it was decided that they liked what we had done too much, and I think they had just gotten used to hearing our voices.
Yeah.
So, so it stuck, so that was nice. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And speaking of the voice acting, Jordan, I didn't know until you sent in that email that the first time they recorded it with Mike Myers that he didn't do it in the Scottish accent. I didn't know.
Actually, it's flipped. He started with the Scottish accent.
Oh.
And then it was decided that it was too thick and maybe people wouldn't be able to understand. So they had Mike Myers go through and record the whole film with just his regular voice. And then it was felt like, no, there was something better. But so he had to go back and take the Scottish that he had done, which was similar to Fat Bastard in the Golden, like in, what was Mike,
Austin Powers.
Austin Powers, thank you.
Yeah.
So it was a much thicker Scottish brogue or whatever.
Yeah.
And so they were like, is there any way that you can soften that some? So he came up with an in-between version of kind of softening the accent so you could understand the words a little clearer. But, yeah. Yeah. And I got to meet Chris Farley because I was on the film early on. They would also have me read opposite the actors on the first film. So I got to actually read opposite Chris Farley for a first couple of the voice recording processes. So
very cool.
Yeah, he was very cool, and Mike Myers was cool too. All the actors were very nice. So
yeah. Well,
awesome.
As a story artist, what elements of Shrek did you contribute to the film aside from voicing Pinocchio and the 3 Little Pigs?
Well, there are some moments that I can remember specifically, like when Shrek and Donkey first meet. There was a lot of dialogue back and forth about you're a mean green fighting machine and, we'll scare the spit out of anyone that crosses us. Like, that was dialogue that I wrote while I was storyboarding because sometimes, they would ask us to plus, the scene, and so we would go back in and kind of change some of the lines or rewrite lines. So that was a scene that towards the end where they get into the ogres and onions, it goes back into the Ted and Terry script where ogres are like onions. That was something that they had written. But a lot of the story artists, that's why we got additional dialogue by credit, is because we had contributed so much in kind of the additional dialogue, the jokes, the writing, that it was enough to kind of get that credit. So
did you kind of, is it kind of like writing a comic? Like when you did the storyboard, you would put like snippets of dialogue that kind of matched with that?
yeah, and what we do is we have back. I mean, now we do everything digitally on a Cintiq, and we can tab through like a slideshow. But 20 years ago, we were pinning everything onto boards and standing in front of it. If you have any, like the old, like the first Shrek DVD had a bonus thing on it, and you can see myself and two other artists pitching live. So if you go to the deleted scenes of, like, I don't know if those DVDs even still exist, but it was like...
I have that DVD, but I would have no idea where it is. But I
Right.
have that with the bonus edition. Like
Exactly, yeah. So you can see three of us kind of pitching our storyboards of these deleted scenes, so, yeah.
How cool.
Yeah, but it's...
I was
Oh, go
doing
ahead.
something like that in
Go
college.
ahead. Sorry, Sarah, I cut you off. Can you say that again?
I was doing something similar like that in college.
Were you?
Yeah, I was learning much of the fundamental electives at Chattahoochee Tech.
That's great.
Nice. And you like storyboarding too, Sarah?
Oh yeah, that definitely helps visualize what I've been writing down the scripts as well. So
Yeah, but in the old days, it very much was like a comic strip where we'd have our storyboard with the dialogue written underneath. But when we're drawing, like I like to draw on just like large pieces of paper and draw many little thumbnails across it. So it's kind of like I'm charting out my path. And then I'll get onto a storyboard panel and draw each one by one. And now with the Cintiq, we can draw straight onto the computer. So I may still on paper do all my thumbnailing and all of kind of my brain figuring out, like the brain barf, where it's just going blah, 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 onto the paper. The brain dump, exactly. So, yeah.
Cool. That's so cool to have that insight, like how it comes about, because I only ever see the end product. So it's fun to hear about how it came about.
Yeah, and it's very weird because our drawings don't make it up on the screen, so to speak. Sometimes they'll use our camera angles, or expressions will be, animators will use our expression, but a lot of times animators build on top and come up with other expressions and characteristics. But the really fun part is being able to pitch to the story crew and the directors and kind of hearing everyone laugh in the room to a joke. You get that immediate audience response. So, it's fun to do that in the room, and then when you go to the movies and the audience is laughing at those jokes, even though it's not my drawings, up there on the screen, I know that they're laughing at a joke that either I came up with or my friends that I work with came up with, and so it's a really enjoyable experience to go see it in a movie theater,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get that back soon. It's easing back in, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
By the way, when you sent me this email about the Shrek at 20, I did find an old Burger King toy. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, how funny.
I'm not a puppet, I'm a real boy!
Oh my god.
yeah, I was hoping for a moment for Pinocchio to tell a lie. I mean,
so since Eddie Murphy is such a comedic genius, how much of Donkey's lines were improv'd by Eddie?
I honestly, remembering back, the only line that I remember being improvised was I think Donkey said something about the bad breath to Shrek, and he said, "You need a tic-tac or something because your breath stinks." So that line specifically was never storyboarded, never came up. Like that, I believe, was something that either he improvised or they gave to him on the day. I wasn't at that recording session, so yeah. But I know for sure that was something that was not in the script or in the storyboards.
Cool.
So,
speaking of stories, I mean, I'm quite curious to know, because I don't recall, being the original, Jones book as being, straightforward. I mean, how did it become a movie that can, include any kind of fairy tale creature kind of thing?
Are you talking about how we were able to use all the kind of public domain fairy tale creatures that other studios have used?
But
Was that your question, Sarah?
well, yeah, I know it's like public domain, but how did that idea came about?
Oh, early on, like when I started, there wasn't any of the fairy tale character parody stuff in the movie. It was a fantasy film, so it had, ogres and fairies and elves, and had kind of a almost like the world of Lord of the Rings, where it's more, magical creatures that way, but not fairy tale specific. And over the development, because the film took many years to develop, it was started probably before I started in September of '96. There were people writing on it earlier than that, but it didn't come out until 2001. Was it 2000? 2001.
20 years ago
Yeah.
this month.
That's right, 2001. Okay, that's right, 20. See, I'm forgetting already. So
It's been a while.
yeah. But at some point through the development of the film, I remember that the comedy elements started to leave the film, and it was going to be more of a dramatic Lord of the Rings style epic adventure about this ogre. So it was trying to find its tone for a while. And then at some point, I remember like fairy tale, the idea of maybe some fairy tale creatures coming into it. And the thing that kind of solidified it, I don't know if this was the first thing pitched, but I remember it was where Jeffrey said, yes, we're going to do more of this. Conrad Vernon had pitched a gingerbread man scene in which there was the Farquad was interrogating him and, breaking off the leg and dunking it in the milk and all of that. And once Conrad pitched that scene, Jeffrey was like, okay, that, we want more of that. So we just started putting fairy tale creatures going back through, and we would take a scene and see if we could add more gags with fairy tale creatures, and like a lot of that process, is probably why we got additional dialogue credit as well. So.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
What was that, Sarah?
I would say like 100 parody references to it.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Of
There's a lot. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what it's so funny for me, though. I love that, especially when you can see all of them, like they're all just all together. And this time when I watched it was the first time I noticed the shoe, the little lady who lived in the shoe.
Yeah.
I never seen it before.
Yeah. We put in so many things that sometimes, you wouldn't see it on the first viewing. A lot of background comedy.
Funny. I feel like every time I watch it, there's new things I notice.
Yeah, little
That's
Easter
great.
eggs that
Yeah.
they put in the background just for sharp-eyed viewers to watch. And
Yes.
yeah. So, did you ever think that during production on Shrek that would end up becoming the highest-grossing non-Disney animated feature at that time, or that would end up being preserved for future generations in the Library of Congress?
There was absolutely no way to predict that. Yeah, I mean, I was working on a film that, there were people who had been working in the industry for 20 years already that were working on that film, and it just seemed like we were working on yet another animated film, and it was going to be funny, and it was for DreamWorks, I think their first CG film aside from the co-production with Ants. So it was also interesting that we were asked to storyboard things that knowing what the computer could do. And at the time, you couldn't have a character land in water because there would be weird. I'm not sure what the word is, but when an object would hit the water.
Make it work.
Sorry, what was that?
There weren't any After Effects to make it work.
It just the impact of something hitting water and computer, it wouldn't disperse the right way or something, and so when he jumps into the mud, it's done with cuts, so you don't actually see like characters landing in water. We had to figure out ways to cut around those impacts because you could show a character waist deep because they were already in the water, so to speak, so you could figure out how to place them in the water. But having like a splash impact 20 years ago was something that was, I guess, very hard to do. So
Wow, that's crazy about animation now, because sometimes you watch animation now or CG stuff now and you forget that it's not real. Like it's so realistic, you can forget.
Photoreal, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess you're probably the perfect person to ask this. Does Shrek truly have layers?
I guess he does. Yeah, there's multiple layers because you have so many people working on it that each artist, each technician is a layer. and each writer, each contributor is a layer. So yes, I think that Shrek does have layers.
I kind of was taking it like a little anatomy thing, as if the body of an ogre would have layers.
Okay, I took it in more of a different way, but
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting perspective. I'd love to hear that answer from you.
Yeah.
Well, we do have a couple of more questions. I mean,
yeah.
we know that the reason that Shrek goes on this first adventure is because there was a bunch of fairy tale creatures that were like relocated to his swamp, the place of his own recluse, and I don't think the movie quite explained the front face about why the fairy tale creatures were being relocated.
Yeah, there was a scene because it was basically Lord Farquad wanted to kind of take over the land. It was a very, I think, thin plot point, but basically Farquad wanted the land, and so he had relocated. He had basically, kicked all these fairy tale creatures out of, the world and put them all in Shrek's swamp. There was a scene that was deleted where Farquad talked about his plan. And it was storyboarded by Chris Miller. I'm not sure if that ended up on the DVD or not, but there was this whole explanation of like why Farquaad didn't like the fairy tale creatures, but it's never quite explained. That's a good point you bring up. You've discovered a plot hole, maybe.
Is it because he's short? I mean, it's just a head. He could be easily confused for a dwarf.
Maybe that was it. Maybe he was, self-hating or something.
Yeah. I guess I always assumed that they ended up specifically at Shrek's swamp because they were mad, like after he like got mad at them with Donkey, like he yelled at them and they all got scared and ran away. And so then the knights were like, well fine, we'll just send all the other fairy tale creatures on that ogre. So that's always why I assumed that they were there, but I also could have just made that up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so
I do have one more question. I mean, I thought this would be something easy to ask for someone working in animation. I mean, what is like the single weirdest thing that you contributed to the Shrek saga?
The weirdest thing. Okay, in Shrek 3, it's the third film, but it has the weirdest moment that I storyboarded. Chris Miller was directing that one, and he asked me to do a nightmare, like Shrek's nightmare, about basically the idea of, marriage and being a father, and he's not prepared for this. So that's basically what I was told. They said, think of this concept, a nightmare, and run with it. So I storyboarded the nightmare scene, and there was the Rosemary's Baby moment with the baby carriage and the overabundance of baby barf going everywhere, and like the babies going and crawling all over, and they started like pouring through the windows and like through the chimney, and he was doing the run for the door, and we did the Hitchcock the Zolly where it's the dolly zoom, like whoa. So we tried to use all of like weird camera stuff from nightmares and horror films and jokes. And so that's probably the weirdest thing I've ever boarded. I also, in that film, did the voice of the babies that were crawling through. So that was a bunch of my voices of the, all the baby ogre stuff. So that was cool because the scene was rendered like they basically animated and used the same shots. And the only thing that was really different from the one that I pitched is at the ending where Shrek is in front of the high school auditorium accepting his graduation, and he's naked in front of the audience. That part I didn't board. Like after a while, someone else had, I think, come up with that part. So, but for the most part, that nightmare, it was probably the weirdest thing I've ever boarded.
Weird.
So.
yeah.
Yeah, and now that you mention it, it may have been like a family or a friend that actually enjoyed that moment from Shrek the Third, especially with the Donkey part going goo goo gaga.
That's crazy, man.
What else? Was there any other voices you did? So you did Pinocchio and the Three Little Pigs in the first, and you did the babies in the third.
Yeah, and Pinocchio and the Pigs were in all 4 films. So yeah, so I even came back. I was already working at Sony when the 4th film was being made, but I still came back to do the voices.
Cool.
So that was fun. But I think there were some maybe in the second or third. Was the third one? Third one was the King Arthur story, right? So the third one, I believe I did some of the like jock knights, like come on man, like hey no way, like that type of voice.
Oh my gosh.
So I think there was one of those that made it in, but I also know that was in a video game. Like we did some of the same voices for the video games they're putting out. So yeah, just trying to think back, there were some of those. Yeah, King Arthur jocks.
All of them.
What was that?
You had your hands in all the movies.
I mean, I was a part of the first 3 a lot, but then the 4th one, my friend Mike Mitchell was directing that one, and I was over at Sony, so I at least got called back to do voices, and I had done one freelance storyboard for them, but it was so early on, I don't know how much of it made it into the film. So
You may have to look back at that.
What was that?
You may have to look back at that.
Yeah.
Figure out what word came in there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, with all these new streamers and new studios producing for streaming, involving lots of money thrown at making the shows, would you make another pioneering animated feature like Shrek if a streamer or a third-party studio offered you the money to make it?
Oh wow! I mean, I think everybody would love to make a show or something like that. Right now, I'm happy. I'm storyboarding for Netflix right now and really enjoying that.
Cool.
So I'm happy. Just storyboarding for the most part right now. I've directed some things. Chris Perrin and I directed Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs too. So I've.
The chance to meet.
Yeah, and that's already.
I
Is that
with my younger cousins. I mean, they especially love Steve going celebrate.
awesome? Yeah, but that's already 2013. That's already a long time ago. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Man, years definitely go by.
Yeah, but I mean, it would depend on what the show or the film was. I have a lot of friends that are showrunners, and they enjoy the fast pace of that. I'm enjoying storyboarding and playing piano and things. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Sarah, did you have more for Cody?
No, that wasn't much of a.
That's good.
Well, what do you think of the first generation who saw the movie as kids and are now showing it to their kids and their nieces and nephews, knowing that you were part of a great classic?
I mean, it's great. I mean, I don't pay attention to much of it. I'm not on social media too much. I know there's a lot of fans of the film. I'm a very humble person, so I don't get too involved with celebrity stuff. But it feels great to be a part of something that so many people have enjoyed, for sure. And especially seeing how, all those artists came together to do their version of Shrek, where there were multiple people that animated segments, and then they combined it into an entire, alternate version of the movie. I thought was amazing. So when people do that, they must care about something if they're going to put that much effort into it, I guess,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like I was seeing a bunch of a lot of I can't remember that was going to that. Yeah, in the Steve Retake Kickstarter. I've been watching the YouTube live.
Cool. Yeah, and obviously we care about it enough to do a movie review topic on it.
Yeah. Now, how did you all start your film group?
We just told you that didn't say other movie.
I know, but I have a very bad short-term memory. I'm super old, so.
No, that is okay. Basically, Sarah and I started going to the movies.
Okay.
Her and I both like animated movies and Disney movies, and so we would go to the movie theater. And then when COVID happened, we couldn't go to the movies
That's
anymore.
right. Yes.
We started picking out movies, and then we would talk about them on the phone afterwards. And then that was more just did we like them? Did we not like them? What was funny?
Yeah.
Then when Jordan came in, I think too. You guys both have such a passion for movies and for animation and for everything in that realm. And so then we kind of started talking more about the actual meat of it, didn't we?
That's great.
Oh yeah, I prefer to have like a more proper history, and Jordan tends to go sidebarring on the history.
That's great. That's great. Now, Jordan and Sarah, do either of you do storyboards? I know, Jordan, you write, but
I
do
have
either
done
of you draw?
storyboards before and animatics. I have done animatics before.
That's great.
I've done like 3. They're like, and they're all like Halloween shorts where where it's usually set in Southern Appalachian mountain territory, and that inspired by Dad's campfire stories.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So anyway, I was still doing like storyboards and story reels, but I especially doing animation. Even Jordan helped out some of the projects I did for like this pilot short that I've been thought about working on for like a museum.
Yeah. Now, did you say you're also animating? Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Adobe stuff, digital flipbook. I have some experience on the CGI.
That's great. I have one of the very earliest things I animated was a flipbook. Hold on a second.
And Sarah, you should tell them that they're showing your movie at the museum.
And that's the attention I have. Like these educational sorts about these.
Whoa!
Wait, let's see. Let me see if I can angle this the right way. So it was just a little Millennium Falcon with TIE fighters?
Yeah, we see a whole conflict going on here.
It's definitely a recreation of that one scene from Empire Strikes Back where they're flying through the asteroid field.
Yeah, I think I was 13. I was 13 when I animated that, and I basically did one page at a time, like I would flip and draw, but I didn't do it how you're supposed to, where you're supposed to trace over the previous drawing. I somehow had it in my head, so I was just able to draw like it in order. Wow. And then I realized, you're supposed to put the drawing underneath, and then you can see where the last place was and put a new drawing. So.
Cool. That's cool that you have it. First thing.
Like similar experience and photographic memory as I do.
Yeah. I think it's worn down some, my photographic memory, but definitely when I was younger, it was very much there. Yeah. That's why stop motion and flipbooks or animation, like moving objects and taking a picture. Yeah, I've always been really good with that, but horrible with math.
Yeah, I'm opposite.
I'm good with math and stuff, but I'm not really like the world's best artist, even though I don't draw stick figures. And there's a friend of mine named Gabs who only can draw stick figures, and I don't even draw stick figures. I draw more in the style of Charles Schultz, Paul Coker Jr., and this guy who did Beetle Bailey.
That's great. Yeah, I know. I've heard of course, Charles Schultz and Paul Coker, but I don't know much about the Beetle Bailey artist. Yeah.
I think the eyes, the way I try to draw the eyes, is often inspired by Garfield when I see Garfield.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. Sarah's animation that she did about Dimetrodons is on. It's about Dimetrodons, right, Sarah?
Yeah. I was doing like an educational short with this creature here.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
It was just like being at animals, so hunting for food.
Yeah, and they play it at the museum. At a natural history museum for kids to learn about Dimetrodons. So that's pretty cool.
Amazing.
Your work is out there.
Yeah, that's great.
I can't get into details of how to sell it, but I do want to make those
That's awesome.
Reports about the swampy Seymour of the Permian period.
It's a good name for it. Yeah, because the museum's called Seymour, right?
White Sandy Museum of Natural History. It just happens to be in the Seymour County, Texas.
That's it. Got it. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, wait, did you say Texas? It's in Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where Sarah and I are.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm in Georgia.
That's right, Jordan. I remember you saying that.
Oh yeah, earlier this morning I was helping out my dad also hunting in like this private property not too far from the neighborhood.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, mostly Mesozoic water beds. I mean, we get a lot of double toenails around here.
Devil toenails? What is that?
They're like these unusual kinds of iron valves that
That look like.
and they curve around like so.
Cool.
Very cool.
Awesome. Well, this has been super awesome. Did you guys have other questions for Cody?
I mean, not.
You don't have
Well,
to.
I do
Mark.
have
Yeah.
one. If they really made the movie with Chris Farley attached, would it be different than the one we have?
I think it would have to be simply because the voice helps the animators with their expressions and how they decide to pose the character. Also, there was a certain style to Chris Farley's voice and demeanor and acting that was different than Mike Myers. So I just think there's no way it could have been exactly the same, but it might have been just as funny or in a different way. In an alternate reality version of the film. It's interesting to think of these things because I guess originally John Belushi and Eddie Murphy were supposed to be in the first Ghostbusters movies. So to think of, movies that were originally supposed to have different comedians in them. There's so many stories where like different people were supposed to be in a movie that it's interesting to think about what that alternate reality would be, because those movies were so successful and huge blockbuster hits. But how would it have been different?
Yeah. Well, definitely the idea to have like the voice artist, bring the style for the animation is something I've been currently discussing with Jordan here for his current project.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah. It's just this is definitely been a real productive meeting. I just
Well, it's been nice talking to you.
I kind of want to try. I need to try to figure out what the maybe Sarah can try to figure out what the next project could be, or like the next production we can cover, because we do animated movies and we do animated TV shows and we have been doing animated shorts, but we haven't really gotten around to animated commercials or animated music videos.
That's true.
Yeah, that's kind of like that would be like 1,000 times more compared to the theater stuff. But if there's like those that should be critically highlighted.
Well, I have done mentoring before, and if you ever had any questions about anything you're working on, I'd be willing to help you with it, free of charge, just as, just to help out,
Well, I definitely have,
Awesome.
I could definitely send, Sarah, I can send you his email.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions,
I am open to have a tutor.
Yeah.
At least a good advisor.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be every week, but like maybe once a month or something if you had something to show or wanted to discuss something,
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, same goes for you, Jordan, if you have stuff,
Yeah, I'm doing monthly emails with Eric Goldberg at the Disney Animation Studio in the hopes that I can get that when things open up, I can get an official tour of the Disney Studio when I go on a California trip, which has been delayed because of the pandemic, but is now looking more like late this year or spring 2022.
Yeah, well, on Thursday I just had my second vaccination shot, so hopefully I'll be, and I didn't really get that sick, so my immune system must be really good.
Yeah,
so.
my immune system seems to be really good on that, but it was the
I think
sore
I was
arm.
all
That was
stocked up
probably
on my
the sore
electrolytes,
It must have been the sore arm, man. That's what
Yeah,
happened.
that's the part that's still a little residual is the arm.
Yeah,
So.
sore arm. I inject you right in the spot. But That's great to hear. We can definitely use some good advice.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so let's see what we can come up with for the next 3-point animation movie club system. And
So how about this?
Guaranteed first time around.
yeah, he huffed and he puffed and he signed an eviction notice.
Well, what about this is May? What about June 8th or something around that time? Like or whatever the Saturday is, roughly from a month from now.
Oh yeah, if you want to do something in June, I mean, we're usually more of a weekly review kind of club.
But he's saying that if he wanted to come back, if you guys wanted him to come back and talk again, he can come back in a month.
Yeah.
We could still do our 3PA meetings weekly, but he's just saying since he works too, he's just saying he could come back if we wanted him to in a month.
Yeah, I'd be able to visit once a month. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, so nice talking to you. Thank you for taking the
Yeah.
time.
Try doing a little 3 little pigs for us. Okay.
Wow, it's been a while. Okay. What should I say?
Lord Farquad, he huffed and he puffed and he signed an eviction notice.
Okay, Lord Farquad, he hoofed and he poofed and he signed an eviction notice.
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. It's been awesome.
It's been fun for me as well. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. All right. See ya.
Continue making magic.
All right. Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
I'll talk later time.
Yeah. Oh, it's dinner time.
Oh, looks like Julia already signed off.
I'm gonna sign off too.
Oh, okay, yeah. You can just end the conversation for all. You know, there's a button for that.
Oh yeah, exactly. In mean for all.